Hello Dot, hello Hannah, hello Dan, hello London Grammar.
Hello, bonjour.
So if you were to first album, even before the release of the album, the buzz was huge. So how everything started? You met at university, is that it?
Yeah, we met at University of Nottingham, and it started with me and Hannah just sort of playing gigs in pubs and clubs, doing covers just with an acoustic guitar, and then about a year later we met Dot, who was in the year below us, and it just kind of, we started writing our own songs, and it gradually just got more and more serious from that point onwards.
But come in time, you're gonna pick up one that feels a little hard, and every time I go to bed.
What kind of stuff were you covering in the beginning, just for fun?
We did The Doors,
Fleetwood Mac.
James Brown.
Phil Collins.
So
We did Cinnamon.
Nina Simone.
Nina Simone.
Yeah, stuff like that.
So a bit far away from your first album, actually. So Dot, you arrived at the third one. How was it? What did you try to give to the?
Non, c'était bon. Quand j'ai arrivé avec le groupe, j'ai joué seulement le djembé, mais après j'ai joué le piano aussi, et protection, tu sais, et la batterie aussi. C'est bon.
And so at what time, when exactly you realized that you wanted to write stuff all together and do something a bit more serious than just covering songs?
Yeah, well, it happened quite naturally. We kind of became more and more serious about what we were doing. The more live shows we did, the more professional you naturally become. And it got to a point where I think our songs kind of, went up a level in standard, and then that's how we got signed.
Was there like a quest for a certain sound, or for a certain way of writing songs, or was it in the beginning?
In the beginning, we didn't have a particular plan for what we would want an album to sound like. I mean, the top lines that I write probably did have huge similarities back then to what they do now, but it just, the more you do something and the more you write and the more you discover, that's a sound can grow naturally, and that's what happened with us, is that we ended up with the album that we have, after 2 years of working on it, basically.
It definitely changed a lot, because it started as quite acoustic. Like it was just really just like guitar, voice and djembe and some harmonies and stuff, and then gradually started getting sort of darker and more electronic music and a bit more atmospheric and dramatic. Then that kind of just sort of develops with time.
Does that mean that you experiment a lot in the studio, for example, and try to look for certain sounds and experiment some instruments? Or
a lot, yeah. We spent a lot of time doing that, yeah.
There was fights between you?
All the time. Over one synth sound, not this synth,
Like a drum sound.
Tout le temps, nous cherchons nous trouvons le son parfait pour anything, like one snare or one kick drum has to be perfect, but that's just a problem.
Letters burning by my bed for you here now. I can feel my instincts here for you here now. By my bed for you here now. Here now.
How about your voice? Your amazing voice in the middle of that. How did you realize that? Maybe you haven't. What is the relationship you have with your own personal voice when you started singing? You were a young little girl, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think my voice has definitely become better, and it's become stronger. It's a muscle like anything else. The more you do something, the better you become. I think it was Daniel who realised that I could sing.
Yeah.
So I have him to thank for that, really. But I mean, it's difficult to not be very neurotic as a singer. Like, I never think it's good enough. I always want to do better. I'm always worrying about it being bad. But I think most all the time. I don't know how they put up there, but I think most singers are like that. So.
What helps you? What gives you confidence?
I'm pretty nervous all the time about it, really.
You're still not confident.
Yeah, I don't
you've got much
You won't
better.
buy the
I've got
album.
much better in terms of stage fright and stuff. But I don't think there is such thing as a singer being completely confident. Well, maybe Beyonce, she's probably pretty confident.
It's hard for
She's
Hannah because she has such a unique way of singing. That it's quite sort of operatic. It's not very poppy, you know. So like, there's a lot more strain on her voice, and I think it's hard for me and Doc to be aware because you know we can't feel what her throat, you know, or what her voice is feeling. So you kind of, it's been a learning process for us all to kind of understand. You know, because Hannah wants to be quite rightly wants to be perfect all the time.
I think it's difficult when you're so busy and you're tired. You get used to being tired pretty much all the time, travelling around, and especially after every show I'm physically pretty knackered. So I lose my voice quite a lot, and that's frustrating. And that's probably where my neurosis comes from.
Yeah. I guess maybe you haven't done any interview without a journalist asking you about the comparison with like the XX or the Machine, no? I guess you're fed up with this kind of comparison, or?
No, not really. I think it's quite a natural thing to happen. I think when something is new and for us what's happened has happened quite quickly, so I think it's natural for people to try and find comparisons. And we love both the XX and Florence. So.
J'ai écouté les similarités avec les guitares. And Daniel a écouté l'XX beaucoup.
Yeah.
So.
Is it a good beginning to start? I mean, to keep close to your own influence, to try to find your own way, your own voice in the beginning?
Because I think with anything musically, like that's the key to everything. So whether it's the way you play guitar or the way you sing or the way you end up actually forming a band, is that you want it to have its own sound that's different from everybody. That's what sets you apart. So I think fortunately for the three of us, it's kind of, we all like have certain styles that we bring, and then when you join those styles together, it creates its own unique style of music. And I think that's what people like about it. I mean, there's obviously similarities to. It's hard to be. You can't be individual anymore because everything's preceded. Everything's preceded. But it's cool, you know.
There's no such thing as an original idea.
Not anymore, yeah. Not these days.
There's a big simplicity, like a bit like less is more in your music. It's something essential in the way you think the music, not to put too much things and try to keep a certain sobriety, simplicity.
Definitely.
It's always what we agree on most is the space. Just,
How were you in the studio during the recording? Were you like complete geek or trying to do a lot of takes or something like that, or it was easy?
Yeah,
We like to do a few takes.
A few.
There was another word for it.
Passes.
Yeah, I hate that word.
I don't
What?
know
Which
that
word?
word.
Passes.
I don't know.
Do another pass.
Yeah. I did. We did loads of takes. We worked really quickly, actually. We wrote pretty much the whole album before we actually went into the studio, and then when we were in the studio we were under a lot of pressure to record all the parts really, really quickly. So actually another interesting thing is that a lot of the takes of the instruments that you do hear on the album are kind of whole live takes sometimes, especially vocally and with the guitar.
We
acoustic drums.
We definitely try not to chop stuff up too much. We like the way it sounds when you have like a full. You know, Hannah
One performance.
generally has one performance. Quite rarely is it cut up. You know, she won't do like a line and then and the same is
It's
really
the same with
for
guitar,
everything.
yeah.
You just get the natural
rawness,
dynamic and the rawness within it. And it's also, you don't want to make everything too perfect either. You know, those imperfections sometimes are the best thing of what people really like. You know, it makes it feel more human. So
This imperfection, like you said, it's something that you can produce more during live, for example? I mean, live helps you a lot for that.
Yeah,
Keep something, use the human part of it.
Maybe I'm wasting my young years. Maybe we are. Maybe I'm wasting my young years. I don't know.
What was the approach of playing in concerts? Because the album sounds very studio, and it's like, and I guess you'd like to use a stage as another experience.
C'est le meilleur live, parce
Yeah.
c'est différent chaque fois. Et aussi, nous avons, c'est plus compliqué. Il y a la batterie aussi dans cette fois. I think it's better.
What did she say?
You agree?
I mean, it's better live. Like it's different every time, and we added.
We could have tried to completely recreate the record, but we chose to kind of keep things as stripped back as possible, and then leave space for the vocal and the guitar. And actually, then emotively, the message of does convey really well, I think, live.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, it was daunting because we suddenly realised we do have this like studio album.
Yeah.
It was a really studio. It is a really studio album. I forget it sometimes.
Some of it more than others. Then there's like Interlude, which is a completely live non-studio. Night Call isn't very studio, but a song like Sights, or
Wasting My Young Years.
Wasting My Young Years and Strong.
When we first played, it was very difficult because we had to figure out how to do it completely. Because when there are lots of things going on sometimes, so we had to kind of make our own system a bit. So it took a while to kind of get there.
There's some musical textures from the 80s that we can feel in your album. Was it a decade that influenced you a bit? He's also the 80s guy.
I do love the 80s. It's not my favourite decade. If I could be growing up in any decade, that's my decade.
You are an 80s child. So
I am technically. I'm 89. I'm born in '89, but I just love 80s music. But then we also there was when we were making the album, there was definitely a bit of a resurgence. But there has been in general, like 80s music is quite fashionable again, especially with like
and in film
Drive.
as well.
Like that Kavinsky song is pretty 80s, like all the synths and stuff.
Yeah.
In film.
The
And
vocoders
Drive
and
is so
stuff.
80s, yeah. But then you got amazing bands. I always think that some of the best songs ever written were written in the 80s. It's just people think it sounds quite dated, but you've got all these amazing melodies like bands like Duran Duran and Talk and Humanly. I don't know. There's loads of amazing bands.
You agree? What are you talking about?
Boring.
You're bored by his
No, I'm not.
80s playlist.
He's like a musical encyclopedia, actually.
Yeah.
I do love the 80s.
So,
It's good decade.
And the 90s. You love the 90s.
C'est toute la musique.
and you two are more like another decade into.
I know, I actually am quite 80s as well.
Yeah, you like a bit of 80s.
Oh yeah, I love it.
It's because of you.
Yeah, I think you sort of 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Are you big music addicts? I mean, when you don't play music, you don't do music, you listen to a lot of stuff, or it depends?
Yeah, I am now. It was funny though, when we were making the album, I became really obsessed with our music and I just didn't really listen to anything else.
Yeah.
And actually I regret that. I think that it made me, I became too much of a perfectionist of our own music, and sometimes listening to other music while you're making, I think, a record is probably really important. I don't know.
And you guys?
Yeah,
Big music addicts too, or you as the encyclopedia
Yeah,
guy?
Dan is.
I'm kind of obsessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that much. I mean, I'm not like I don't think.
You know every band that's.
No, I
exists.
don't. I'm not I'm not that alternative. I'm good with pop music. I like pop music. I like a lot of pop music. I'm quite into new music as well, especially like British music.
So what is your obsession of this week?
This day.
I go through phases. I don't know. At the moment, I'm just listening to a lot. I'm listening to a lot of 80s music at the moment. So yeah, like you know, a band called Talk Talk and like who else am I listening to? I don't know.
And you?
I've been listening to Half Moon Run.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that
They're
song.
good.
Full circle.
Yeah. Canadian band. They're wicked.
J'écoute Laura Mavunas.
You've been listening to them, really?
Yeah, and John Hopkins.
Yeah.
I did listen to the Arctic Monkeys.
It's good.
And Janelle Monáe.
Janelle Monáe.
That was good. She's amazing, actually.
So what's next? Do you have already in mind tons of music, things you want to do after, or you just try to take this album on the road and you'll see after?
We do need to kind of relax and try and take the album on the road. But at the same time, it's difficult. I've definitely already got ideas that I'm going to try out.
I think it'll be much more influenced by the live thing this time. It'll be less, and I think we'll do. I reckon we'll do a lot of it ourselves. You know, almost all of it ourselves this time. I imagine I say that. You know.
Yeah.
No, I think we will.
Hopefully.
It will definitely be the live thing is being. We'll have a lot more live percussion on it. I think.
Djembe.
Djembe. More djembe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Roman Grammar.
Thank you. Merci.